from Hollywood, I'm Martin Grove, welcoming you to our Screendollars podcast, Box Office Autopsy. Right now, we'll look at the movie marketplace and analyze how things are going and where they're going, sharing some opinions from my perspective after decades of talking about Hollywood on CNN Entertainment Tonight and as a Hollywood Reporter columnist. A new box office overperformer dazzled theaters everywhere July 4th weekend as Universal and Illumination Entertainment's Minions: The Rise of Gru rolled into nearly 4,400 domestic theaters while also expanding internationally into 61 markets. On today's Box Office Autopsy, we'll have the latest on Gru, plus a look at how the holdover hits Elvis from Warner Brothers and Roadshow Entertainment and Top Gun Maverick from Paramount and Skydance Media are holding up. Last weekend they tied for first place Sunday, but when Monday's box office dust settled, it was Elvis opening number one to just over $31 million, with Maverick a solid second in its fifth weekend with nearly $30 million. This weekend, one of them's solidly second, and the other's an okay third. Later in our Oscar Outlook feature, we'll tell you why the Hollywood Foreign Press Association is back in the headlines, and what it could mean for 2023's 80th Annual Golden Globes and for the Academy. But let's start now with this fun look at Gru as the minions do their best to break a board with their hands and by using their heads.
Doubt tells me I cannot break this wood. But doubt exists only in the mind. You know what I say to my mind? Now, you.
Kevin. Beijo, pataquès Moldave! Come, nous les cassos!
Gru opened to $108.5 million at 4,391 theaters for 3 days, and it's expected to do nearly $128 million for 4 days per ComScore. Exhibitors were anticipating just 70 to 75 million. Some Hollywood handicappers projected 75 to 100 million, which turned out to be closer, but still low. Gru's kickoff came close to toppling 2015's $115.7 million debut for Minions, which remains the franchise's best opening. Its domestic cume was $336 million, and it did $1.2 billion worldwide. Internationally, Gru's cume is $93.7 million in 61 markets, including its launch last week in Australia, making its global cume just over $202 million. Media projections for this weekend were just $70 million plus, so Gru is clearly a worldwide overperformer, hammering home that moviegoers feel very good now about being back in cinemas with their families and friends. Gru set a new domestic record as 2022's top animated launch. The prior record holder, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 from Paramount, Sega, and Original Film, debuted to just over $72 million, and it did $401 million worldwide. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes are just 72% fresh for Gru, but that didn't matter to moviegoers. GRU's audience score is a sizzling 91%, which means great word of mouth to drive ticket sales. GRU's a fun movie magnet for parents and kids and should have great box office legs after July 4th weekend. Warner Brothers Roadshow Entertainment's second weekend of Elvis wasn't singing in second place. It came in third with $19 million at 3,932 theaters, down 39% for 3 days with a domestic cume of just over 67 million. It opened in line with media projections for about 20 million. Elvis should do 21 million plus for 4 days. Its exit polls were favorable, and its audience score on Rotten Tomatoes is 94%, which means excellent word of mouth. RT critics are 78%, which isn't bad, but probably won't help much. As for second place, it went to Paramount and Skydance Media's Top Gun Maverick in its sixth weekend, with $25.5 million at 3,843 theaters. That's down just 14% for 3 days. It's done $564 million in domestic theaters. ComScore's figuring $32.5 million for 4 days. Maverick's international cume is $544.5 million. Maverick likely benefited from being the perfect patriotic film with which to celebrate July 4th. What also probably helped is that July 3rd was Tom Cruise's 60th birthday, and many of his fans may have celebrated that milestone by seeing Maverick again in theaters. Later in the film flashback feature on today's podcast, we'll look back at Tom's megabucks movie career, focusing on some of his top titles at the box office and also at the Oscars. Maverick is now Tom's all-time top-grossing film with $1.1 billion globally. Here's Tom talking about why he decided this was finally the right time to make a sequel to Top Gun.
I was finally like, this is now or never. And look, I was always there. Everywhere I traveled around the world, they wanted a sequel, and it was just never right. It's just the story wasn't right, but I'd lay there in bed, and I'm constantly thinking about stories, and I was like, okay, what if, how? And I was waiting for technology to be able to catch up to some of the things that I wanted to accomplish, because in the first one I flew in the F-14, we had a camera that had 5 minutes of film, and I would turn it on and off. And I waited to see where, and I did American Made. And when I was doing American Made, the aerials, it was always in the back of my mind that if I did Top Gun, what about this? And then McHugh and I did Fallout together, and we were developing those cameras for the helicopters and that aerial sequence. It was all a progression to where we're going. And Kaczynski, when I was doing Oblivion with Joe, he's like, I always talked about Top Gun. I said, Joe, let's make Oblivion right now, And then I was shooting Fallout, and McHugh was talking to me about Top Gun for, 10 years. And it just came together. And it just was like, okay, it is now or never. And I felt like the challenge is there, and maybe we can figure this out.
Looking ahead, next weekend we'll bring Marvel Thunderbolts to box offices everywhere as Disney and Marvel's Thor: Love and Thunder explodes. It's going to be must-see moviegoing across the multiplex multiverse, as this battlefield scene shows, with Chris Hemsworth back swinging Thor's hammer.
God of Thunder!
King Yakan!
You have finally joined our fight!
Well, as they say, better late than not at all.
It is very nice. As you know, we used to live in a peaceful oasis, but then our gods were murdered.
Murdered?
And now our sacred temple has been left unguarded, and Hokus holds the control of its power. It is our most sacred shrine, and he desecrates.
Not for long. King Yakan, tell them what happened here today. Tell of the time that Thor, the ragtag motley crew, misfit desperados, turned the tide in the battle That's their names in history. The odds may be against us, but I'll tell you this for free.
Here it comes.
This ends here and now!
Thor's showing enviable tracking strength with average first-choice scores that are nearly 4 times norm, and it's a hit with all demos. Over 25 men are strongest with 24 points over norm. Next best are under 25 men, who are 17 points over norm. Women are only slightly less. Women under 25 are 15 points over norm, and women over 25 are 14 points over norm. That's the kind of 4 quadrants appeal that makes exhibitors smile. Early projections by Hollywood handicappers are for Thor to kick off to $125 to $150 million, but as we get closer to July 8th, that number could very well get a bump up, given how this summer's resurgence in moviegoing has been generating overperforming openings. Looking back at the last Thor franchise episode, Thor Ragnarok, which reportedly cost $180 million to produce, it opened November 3rd, 2017 to nearly $123 million, the series' best launch to date. It went on to gross just over $315 million domestic, nearly $539 million international, for a worldwide cum of $854 million. Ragnarok's opening was before COVID erupted, but now that moviegoers are very comfortable being back in cinemas, Thor: Love and Thunder could set a new series opening record. Thor should also enjoy a strong second weekend in cinemas, since its new wide competition July 15th will be from an animated family film, Paramount and Nickelodeon's Paws of Fury, The Legend of Hank, and an adult mystery thriller, Sony and Hello Sunshine's Where the Crawdads Sing. Paws is tracking quietly and is unlikely to take any audience away from Thor. Here's a quick scene to help you decide if you want to see it or skip it.
Wait, that music! This is the training montage, isn't it?
Listen down, the ball don't run from the hills. Listen to the ball, people about to get big. How could we lose when I never gon' quit? Don't quit. It's a new ball, new tricks, yeah, won't fall, won't miss, yeah, all work, no play. We don't hesitate.
Wow, did not see that coming.
2 weeks out, Paws's first choice scores are all under norm. Younger and older men are both 3 points under norm, while younger and older women are both 4 points under norm. So it doesn't sound like moms with kids will be rushing to see Paws. The box office buzz right now is for a $15 to $20 million opening. Meanwhile, Crawdads also isn't exactly boiling hot on the tracking. It's looking best as a first choice for younger and older women, but they're both just equal to norm, while younger and older men don't care at all. And they're both 4 points below norm. Media analysts are expecting a $15 to $20 million launch. Where things have been heating up lately is on the awards front, so let's plug in our Oscar Outlook spotlight and focus on recent news reports that have put the Hollywood Foreign Press Association back in the headlines. What the media are questioning is whether NBC will telecast the 80th annual Golden Globe ceremonies in January 2023. The network hasn't committed yet to doing so. If NBC does give the Globes a green light, that would mean it feels the HFPA's made significant reforms in terms of creating membership diversity and also in addressing past claims of financial impropriety. If the Globes don't get back on TV in January, they could quickly become the HFPA's golden ghosts. The Globe's fate may really be up to Hollywood publicists who originally sidelined the show by withdrawing their A-list clients as participants. Reports claim some top publicity firms are now divided about maintaining their Globes boycott because they think Globes TV exposure for winners is helpful in Oscar campaigning. NBC will likely keep a very close eye on what the publicists decide to do before the network says yes to a 2023 telecast. Studios that refused to work with the HFPA last year are also said to be split now about whether to keep the HFPA in the deep freeze or resume relations with what was for decades Hollywood's second biggest awards show, and could still have some value as the studios and their awards consultants fight for Oscar gold. NBC will wind up being the key to the Globe's future because without a telecast, top stars are unlikely to attend or even campaign to win. NBC reportedly pays a $60 million annual licensing fee to the HFPA and its producing partner, MRC Live and Alternative, formerly Dick Clark Productions. Ratings for all awards shows, including the Oscars, have plunged since before the pandemic began. NBC could decide Madison Avenue won't keep paying premium prices to justify the high cost of televising the Globes. The Motion Picture Academy could actually benefit from a goodbye Globes decision at NBC, since Oscar wins often mirror Globes wins, which takes some of the suspense away from Oscar night. Having fewer awards telecasts could be good for ABC's Oscar show. It's also worth noting that with the Globes sidelined last January, no other awards telecast emerged as a strong successor. The Critics' Choice Awards and the SAG Awards both had a shot at becoming the next Golden Globes, but neither of those shows came close to creating the old razzle-dazzle that the HFPA was so very good at doing back in its heyday. That's it for today's Box Office Autopsy. Please join us again next week when we'll talk about Thor: Love and Thunder's opening, and we'll keep you up to date in our Oscar Outlook feature on whatever the awards givers and contenders are up to. For now, thanks very much for listening. Time now for our film flashback look at what was happening in Hollywood right around now, way back then. Let's set today's time travel dial for July 3rd, 1962. When Thomas Cruz Mapother IV was born July 3rd, 1962 in Syracuse, New York, no one expected that 6 decades later he'd be a superstar with a new film that's done over $1 billion globally. Fate definitely stepped in to turn TCM IV into Tom Cruise, and to turn his Top Gun Maverick from Paramount and Skydance Media into a box office mega hit for his 60th birthday. Actually, fate began intervening on Tom's behalf at age 14 when he was a Franciscan seminary student hoping to become a priest. After moving to New Jersey with his mother and new stepfather, Tom got interested in acting and headed to New York at 18 to pursue his dream. Looking for TV work brought him to L.A., where he signed with CAA when the agency was only about 5 years old. Tom's movie career began in 1981 with a bit part in Franco Zeffirelli's Endless Love and a supporting role in Taps. In 1983, Francis Ford Coppola cast him in his ensemble film The Outsiders, and Tom got his first starring role in All the Right Moves. But it was 1983's Risky Business that really put him on the map. Made for $6.2 million, the teen sex comedy drama grossed $63.5 million. 3 years later, Tom catapulted to superstardom with Tony Scott's Top Gun. It cost $15 million and grossed a then enormous $357.3 million. These are just a few of Tom's many top movies since Top Gun, with their filmmakers' budgets and worldwide cumes. Barry Levinson's Rain Man, 1988, won Oscars for Best Picture, Directing, and Actor Dustin Hoffman. Made for $25 million, it did nearly $355 million. Oliver Stone's Born on the 4th of July, 1989, won the directing Oscar and brought Tom a Best Actor nomination. It cost $14 million to make, and it did $161 million. Rob Reiner's A Few Good Men, 1992, opposite Jack Nicholson, had a $41 million budget and made just over $243 million. Neil Jordan's Interview with the Vampire Chronicles, 1994, was produced for $60 million and did nearly $224 million. Brian De Palma's original Mission Impossible, 1996, cost $80 million and grossed almost $458 million. Cameron Crowe's Jerry Maguire brought Tom a Best Actor nom. It cost $50 million and did almost $274 million. Stanley Kubrick's Eyes Wide Shut, 1999, co-starring Tom's then-wife Nicole Kidman, was produced for $65 million and did just over $162 million. Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia, 1999, brought Tom a Supporting Actor Oscar nom. It cost $37 million and did $48.5 million. Steven Spielberg's War of the Worlds, 2005, was made for $132 million and grossed almost $604 million. Just matching this short list of Tom's movies would be a Mission Impossible for anybody else. With Top Gun Maverick now enjoying jet-propelled box office success, it's a safe bet Tom's enjoying a very happy 60th birthday. And that's it for today's podcast. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with another box office autopsy next week. In Hollywood for Screendollars, I'm Martin Grove.